So let's see here. Second Ezra's 1. Let's get that. 1 and 8. Let's see what it says. I'm gonna start up a verse at 7 right here. Oops. 7. It says, Second Ezra's 1 and 7, it says, Am not I even he that brought them out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage? Right. You know, Jacob teach about the miracles and praise the Lord about the miracles, but what about the second Egypt? Remember in Jeremiah 16? All right. And Jeremiah explains that, this exodus or this salvation, okay, is going to be grander. It's going to be on a scale greater than that of Exodus, okay, because of the strangeness of our salvation, being saved and beamed up by spaceships. Okay, that's in the Bible, but you got many that don't believe. Why do they not believe? Well, we know faith is a gift, right? So they don't have that gift. Okay, but they have provoked me unto wrath and despised my counsels, right? Pull off then the hair of thy head and cast all evil upon them, for they have not been obedient unto my law. And the law is what? To trust and believe. That's a law. Law is the faith is a law at right now. Okay, you believing is the law. All right, but it is a rebellious people. I mean, what more can you do? You can't do nothing with a rebellious people. All right, let's jump to verse 24. And it says, what shall I do? What shall I do unto thee, O Jacob, thou Judah? Wouldest not obey me, I will turn me to other nations. All right. And so that's a stumbling block for many, because what the Lord is talking about, okay, is the ones that he's going to, the scattered Israelites that he's going to gather towards the end of the earth. All right. And unto those will I give my name, that they may keep my statutes. Okay. So many would take this precept and say, oh, that's dealing with another nation. No, that's just dealing with the scattered. That's dealing with the ones that were lost. Okay. And, when you read Romans, the 10th chapter, all right, when you read about the Gentiles, Paul going unto the Gentiles, because the Jews was pretty much, I don't want to say rejected, but, the Lord moved on. The Spirit moved on. Okay, he saved the tents of Judah first, and then he moved on. Okay, and he drove those Jews unto jealousy, because they were driving him onto jealousy. That's Deuteronomy 32 and I think 15 or 20. All right. All right. So the nations that it's dealing with here is what? Those who the true worshipers, the faithful, okay, among the Israelites that are scattered. All right. So let's see. Baruch 1 and 19. All right. And that's a stumbling block for many, but hey, keep stumbling. We know. All right. We know the mysteries of the Heavenly Father. So verse 19, it says, since the day that the Lord brought our forefathers out of the land of Egypt unto this present day, we have been disobedient unto the Lord our God, and we have been negligent in not hearing his voice. And his voice is going out in the earth by way of his prophets. The Spirit is risen up the men of the Lord to what? To visit you with his word. Okay, and by this word is the gathering. Okay. But they rejected. Okay. They slapped the hand of the Lord in the time of the time that he made the opportunity available. Okay. And so That's on your own head, okay? Because you're supposed to be studying, you're supposed to be, locked in to where the Spirit is sup. If you're sincere, the Lord is going to sup with you, and He's going to reveal these things. Okay, only the Israelites though. Only the Israelites are going to call upon His name. The heathen ain't going to call upon the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. There's dreadful among them. They couldn't even get it. They couldn't say it if they wanted to, right? And what proves that? Do you see anybody saying it now and having faith in that name? No. Don't nobody have faith in that name except for the true worshipers, the elect. That's why we know this ain't a game. This ain't a joke. Okay? They chose rebellion instead of faith. Okay? Nehemiah, this is another point I got. All right. And this is an example. I'm definitely pulling from the history. Nehemiah 9 and 16, because you see the same conduct now. All right. Nehemiah 9 and 16. It says, but they and our fathers dealt proudly and hardened their necks and hearken not to thy commandments and refused to obey, neither were mindful of thy wonders. See, you got a history of it. And what's happening now in our time? They're not mindful of the wonders that the Lord had done, that thou didst among them. And it's referencing what? The wilderness. Okay? But harden their necks. And so what you think Jake gonna do in this time? They're gonna harden their necks even more. And in their rebellion appointed a captain to return to their bondage. But thou art a God ready to pardon. See? And so what are they doing? They appointed, Israel now has appointed them a captain, what? To turn back to the bondage of the world, to go back to the world, right? Gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and of great kindness, and forsookest them not. Okay. Let's see here. Moving on, Isaiah 30 and 9. I got a few more precepts and then I'm gonna close. Okay, because it's coming up on about an hour. So Isaiah 30 and 9, it says that this is a rebellious, lying children that will not hear the law of the Lord Yahweh, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things. Right? So Jake don't want to hear it. They have what the scripture referred to as itching ears. They don't want to hear it. Speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceits. Get you out of the way, turn aside out of the path, cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us. All right. And Jake is still doing this. Okay. All right. Wherefore thus said the Holy One of Israel, because ye despise this word and trust in oppression and perverseness and stay thereon, therefore this iniquity shall be to you as a breach ready to fall. Right. And that's what's going to fall. That's what's going to happen. What you built, what they built, okay, it's going to fall because it doesn't have Yahweh Shai at the foundation of it. Swelling out in a high wall whose breaking cometh suddenly at an instant. Okay. Moving on. All right. Sirach or Ecclesiasticus chapter 16. Oops. 16. And we're going to read the 7th and the 8th verse. It says, well, you know what? Let's start at 6. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to read the point on here. So, 6, it says, in the congregation of the ungodly, this is Ecclesiasticus chapter 16, verse 6. In the congregation of the ungodly shall a fire be kindled. And the fire is what it consumes. So it's going to consume that ungodly congregation. And in a rebellious nation, wrath is set on fire. He was not pacified toward the old giants who fell away in the strength of their foolishness. Right. And what you think is going to happen today? Scriptures say it shall be as in the days of Noah. Who was back there in the days of Noah? Those giants. All right. In other words, those ancient ancient noble, uh, uh, um, wise giants. Okay, who pretty much turned to, you know, what's the word? Decadence. Okay, it says who fell away in the strength of their foolishness. Neither spared he the place where Lot sojourned. All right, that's Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding cities. It says, but abhorred them for their pride. He pitied not the people of perdition and destruction who were taken away in their sins. So how much more this generation, especially this generation, he's going to, if he did away with them, he's going to do away with this generation for certain. Okay? Because the opportunity was given and what? They squandered it. Okay? Let's do Luke. All right, 19. Let's see what it say though. 19 and 41. Yahushua weeps over Jerusalem. All right. And just like Yahushua wept over Jerusalem, because Yahushua prophesied of 70 AD. Okay. And we're prophesying what of the end of this, because the 70 AD marked the end of the Israelite state, the Israelite, inheritance, the Israelite land, okay, and culture. It was disbanded and it was broke up, and Jake was led into exile and scattered throughout the four corners, okay, and that was the falling away. So Yahushua prophesied of the falling of the great falling away, okay, which you hear about in 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter. So Luke 19:41, but as he came closer to Jerusalem and saw the city ahead, he began to weep. How I wish today, that's the NLT. I want to read in the KJV. This one's more impactful. 19:40, Luke, it says, and he answered and said unto them, I tell you that if these should hold their peace, the stones would immediately cry out. All right. He was being heckled again, I believe. Yep. Again by the wicked Pharisees. But it says, and when he and when he has and when he was come, goodness gracious, he beheld the city and wept over it, saying, if thou hadst known, even thou at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes. Okay, and till this day, the Israelites don't understand what belongs to their peace, meaning what belongs to their restoration. They don't understand, this truth, and the 100% truth, the right doctrine is set up to heal you. It's set up to save you. It's set up to seal you for salvation and not destroy you. Okay. But Jake is just doing whatever they want. They're teaching whatever they want. Okay. It says, for the days shall come upon thee that thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee and compass thee round. All right. And keep thee in on every side. This is coming again. It came during 70 AD, and it's coming again in a way that you couldn't fathom. All right. Though we telling you, all right, that this man he's expanding control. He's trying to enslave you digitally, right? He's trying to surveil you 24/7, and he's trying to make you his property. He's trying to make you a perpetual slave, and he wants you to worship him as God himself, okay? And they're going to do it by way of what? This new beast system, all right? The microchip, all right, is going to be the centerpiece of this whole thing. All right, if you want to live in the world that they're creating, Okay, but the elect, we're gonna the just shall live by faith. We're gonna have to live by faith. We're gonna need extreme faith. And I did say I was gonna play a video for y'all. I almost forgot. And sometimes I do forget, so you gotta forgive me on that. You know, but I'm gonna play that video to show you this was never a game. It was never a joke because Esau is not playing. Okay. All right. It says verse 44, and shall lay thee even with the ground. So the Romans wanted to the Lord was prophesying of the Lord. I mean the Romans. The Lord was prophesying of the Romans exterminating the Israelites. Okay. And shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation. You see? So you rejected the visitation. You rejected the warning. All right? You're not paying attention to what your enemy is doing, because they're trying to preserve their way of life. They're trying to preserve, quote unquote, whiteness. That means in order for them to survive, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans have to be moved out of the way. And they're making policy for that to happen, right? Re-immigration, okay? They got things like that, you know? War on crime, the war on poverty, all right? And the literal wars, okay? And they want to move, they want to get rid of you Israelites, man. So it's coming again. All right, it's coming again, and this time it's coming in a way more nastier. It's coming in a more nastier. What's the word? Form. Okay, and it's not a joke. It was never a joke. All right, to begin with. All right, because you got a lot of Jake scoffing. They think the truth is just a movement, and they think that they're gonna try to dismantle the doctrine and try to trigger us to death, with their these attempts of trying to dismantle the doctrine or the teachings. Matthew 17:17. Then Yahushua answered and said, "O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me." All right. So the Lord is about to allow this devil to make his move. Okay, he's about to allow this devil to make his move because what? You ignore the visitation, you ignore the warning.
In one way or another, we are so far, globally, we are so far above the population and the consumption levels which can be supported by this planet that I know in one way or another it's going to come back down. So I don't hope to avoid that. I hope that it can occur in a civil way, and I mean civil in a special way, peaceful. Peace doesn't mean that everybody's happy, but it means that conflict isn't solved through violence, through force, but rather in other ways. And so that's what I hope for. That we can, the planet can support something like 1 billion people, maybe 2 billion, depending on how much liberty and how much material consumption you want to have. If you want more liberty and more consumption, you have to have fewer people. And conversely, you can have more people. We could even have 8 or 9 billion probably if we have a very strong dictatorship, which is smart. Unfortunately, you never have smart dictatorships. They're always stupid. But if you had a smart dictatorship and a low standard of living, you can have it. But we want to have freedom and we want to have a high sentence, so we're going to have 1 billion people. If you had a smart dictatorship and a low standard of living, you can have it. But we want to have freedom and we want to have a high sentence, so we're going to have 1 billion people. And we're now at 7, so we have to get back down. I hope that this can be slow, relatively slow, and that it can be done in a way which is relatively equal, so that people share the experience and you don't have a few rich, trying to force everybody else to deal with it. So those are my hopes. These are pretty pessimistic hopes, but that's what lies ahead.
Well, I think it's funny, at least. All the illegals, they still think we're stuck with them. No, no, no. You're about to be stuck in here with us. Clock is ticking. Could be a soft tick, could be a loud one, hard to say. A word of advice, though, I'd scram if I were you. Skedaddle. Vamoose, leave while you still can. Alligator Alcatraz is just the beginning. Next up is Shark Shawshank. Sharks, very dangerous, not the most reasonable of beasts. Some of you have seen the Discovery Channel and know what I'm talking about. Shark Week, very exciting. We'll live stream escape attempts, justice and economic stimulus in one. Rikers with grizzly bears is an option as well. We could use a snappier name, but the concept is strong to very strong in a big way, quite frankly.
All right. This is 2 Ezra 7 and 20. Let's see what it's saying. Yep. It says, for there be many that perish in this life because they despise the law of God, which now that law is faith, just to believe in his word, right? And it's the ultimate slap in the face when you are dismantling the words, all right, the doctrine, okay? And you saying that, salvation is for everybody. And then they're going to laugh at it's just going to get worse with these guys, man. Then ain't going to be no salvation. The spaceships ain't going to save us. The chariots of God ain't going to save us. We just going to be stuck here in America according to them. Watch. All right. Because they despise the law of God that is set before them. For God hath given straight commandment to such as came what they should do to live. And he's given us instruction. Okay. Even as they came and what they should observe to avoid punishment. And the Lord, even for our time, this is relevant. Okay. And the Lord has set, things in place, in rules of engagement or rules in place now. Okay. Which is being handed down through tradition by what? By our teachers, our leaders. Okay. Yeah. And the Lord is about to shake a lot of you Negroes up, man. Especially because you don't believe. This is Sirach chapter 2, verse 13. Woe unto him that is faint-hearted, for he believeth not, therefore shall he not be defended. So you got to believe, all right? Because the righteous is going to be tested and the wicked are going to, the righteous are going to be tested, right? And the wicked are going to fail that test, the test that's coming. This is my last precept, but I have to close out. This is Wisdom of Solomon chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. It says, and having been a little chastised, they shall be greatly rewarded. All right, for God proven them and found them worthy for himself, right? So these are those who are enduring, all right, this doctrine, this teaching, and keeping the teaching and not ashamed of it, okay? Because many are going to be ashamed, especially when the hammer comes down, and especially when Esau says, okay, this is treason, all right, and start locking people up, because things are going to get worse here in America, okay, and they're going to declare martial law, and they're going to declare a national curfew, and then they're going to come in like the Gestapo, all right, like they in Nazi Yahtzee Germany, all right? They're going to come in like that. If you have anything to say bad about the establishment, they're going to do something about it. And that's what this thing is set up for. That's why we're going to need help. Daniel 12 and 1, right? It says, and as gold in the furnace had he tried them and received them as a burnt offering, all right? Because then when those times come, the hard time, the Jacob's trouble, and what we're telling you, that our temptation, okay, the Lord, all right, is going to deliver those who believed and who endured, okay? And in the time of their visitation, they shall shine and run to and fro like sparks among the stubble. We're going to get spiritual powers, So, Lord willing, this was edifying. I have to cut it right here. Until next time, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Double honors to our apostles and elder bishops. Shalom to you, Akim.